Chapter 24. We must do the work of saving lives. To a leader, worrying is poison. Jesus told the disciples not to worry nor have fear in their hearts. A person who has faith must not have worries or fears. If worries come inside of the heart, the facial expression becomes dark. So God does not like the person who worries. It is because such person has no faith. There are many times when we worry and are anxious, even without our knowing. But it also makes all the people around me experience difficulty. Thus, the word must drive out worries and anxieties. Jesus told his disciples not to worry in their hearts because they were people who would do Jesus' work in his place. The leaders of the era of love as well must not have any worries in their hearts. The ones who are to do God's work must drive out worries. Yet we worry, and we don't even know it. We don't even know that worrying is a frightening thing, and we get dragged inside of it. To the leader of the era of love, worrying is poison. Those who will do work in the era of love must drive out worries with the word. Now, all worries and anxieties must be driven out, and only thankfulness, joy, and peace must be enjoyed. We must only have the things of God. Works of miracles arise toward a person who can throw himself or herself entirely away for God. When I throw myself away and look only at God, God does work. Now, my whole entire name must get buried inside of the Word, and only God's name must remain in me. Only the person who has denied oneself can be a leader in the era of love. When God tells us go, we go. When God tells us to stand still, we stand still. When we move according to the way God tells us, miracles arise. When my thoughts get mixed in even a little bit, then miracles don't arise. When I have entirely thrown myself away and have become united as one with God, works then arise. If so, God becomes satisfied due to our obedience, and we also live a life of satisfaction due to God. Thus, the leader of the era of love must throw away my things, and only have the things of God remained inside. We must do the work of saving lives. After being banished from Eden due to disobedience, lives could not open their eyes until now, so they have come to live not knowing God well. Now, God is trying to raise up the life inside of us. In the era of love, God tries to open the eyes of the lives inside our spirits and let us feel God. God is trying to have us directly experience and feel God with our bodies. Thus, I must feel and experience God. We must not, due to our thoughts, feel out of place and be outside of God, but go deeply inside of God. God uses our flesh as tools. At times, God uses illnesses of the body as tools in order to reveal God's glory. Then, if the lives inside us arise through such work, how joyful God would be. The greatest work on this earth is first that our souls live from within God, and it is also the work of saving other souls through me. The reason God goes from era to era in search of people whom God will use is so that God can reveal that He lives. Through miraculous signs and wonders, God shows that God lives, but their purpose is to save lives by the word. If God will do such work through me in this era, how amazing is that? Thus, we must thoroughly manage every single one of our words and even our facial expressions. This is because, due to my words and facial expressions, I can scar someone. Words and facial expressions become revealed just as they are reflected inside me, so I must always have peace in my heart. If I have peace in my heart, my face becomes God's face. And even if I'm just laughing, this becomes missionary work that saves the person next to me. In this way, we must do the work of saving lives. We must work having received the Spirit's stir. Though I acknowledge the words of the era of love, if I cannot convey them because I'm afraid and conscious of the human, I am precisely Satan who blocks God's path, so I must strike such fear with the word. God does not look at our appearances and calls us beautiful. God calls the person who received the Spirit's stir and does work beautiful. Such persons do God's work with their whole life without any talk. If I were made to stand as a leader of the era of love, I must stand confidently in front of a person no matter who he or she is. When we convey the era of love and are embarrassed of God's name, God will also look at us and be embarrassed. God does not raise up such a person. The person who received the Holy Spirit's stir is not afraid of human beings. So God uses those who are stirred. Those who martyred themselves for God were all stirred and used by God. The person who does not have the stir works according to human thought. So that person cannot be unclothed of his or her frame. That is why we must work having received the Spirit's stir.